Howdy do, my name's Amethyst, and I decided to watch as many animated movies released in 2022 as I could. There were so many films that caught my attention, I dare say there are only a select few I avoided watching due to inaccessibility or a lack of interest. The basic ground rules is that I'll allow movies that were released in theatres, on home video and on streaming services. On a side note, I will not be including 2022 releases that I didn't watch this year, because if I did that, the title of the video will be a massive lie. Also, I'll be basing my picks on the British release dates, so if you see any 2021 movies in this selection, that's pretty much why they're here. Anyway, let's not dawdle for too long, and let's jump right in. I've never been a fan of the Hotel Transylvania movies, but I do think there were good intentions with ending the series with this fourth installment. Unfortunately, what good intentions we have is drowned out by a repetitive sense of humour that mostly consists of screaming and falling, and a character arc that feels like backtracking. We could have ended these films with a bang, but sadly, it ended with a whimper. Overall, Hotel Transylvania Transformania is an easy don't bother. For those who have never heard of this film, The House is an anthology film that tells 3 tales about the latest owners of a house, and most of the stories are genuinely creepy, whilst the last one is sad and depressing. Each of these stories are very hypnotizing to watch, and the stop-motion animation that brings them to life is beautifully crafted. If you're a horror hound, I'd say The House is a must-see. I know that it's popular on the internet to hate Illumination, but Sing 2 actually looked promising, and it actually delivered on my anticipation. I mean, yeah, the plot structure still felt a little scattershot, but I still got hooked by these characters' struggles, and if that weren't enough, the film managed to have a genuinely menacing villain and visually spectacular stage show climax. In my opinions, movies like Sing 2 prove that Illumination are capable of making good movies. I hope more like this happen in the near future. Overall, Sing 2 is a must-see. Mamoru Hosoda has offered many fantastic films in the past, and this virtual platonic Beauty and the Beast style film is no exception. I love the fact that the movie doesn't use its virtual utopia to say technology bad, but its mystery plots and character growth is frequently compelling, and at times emotionally draining. If that weren't enough, this film has a kick-ass soundtrack with many original songs that are both catchy and absorbing to listen to. Overall, Belle is easily a must-see. At long last, Catwoman has a good movie named after her, and this slick heist anime is a ton of fun. Okay, I'll admit that the villains aren't that interesting, but Selena Kyle proves to be an enjoyable central protagonist, and things get even better when she reluctantly teams up with the no-nonsense militaristic Batwoman. The way I see things, if you love DC Comics and Cowboy Bebop, this is the film for you. I can guarantee you'll have a great time. Overall, Catwoman Hunted is a must-see. I really hope Flea isn't the most overlooked Oscar nominee of 2022's Academy Awards, because it is an unforgettable viewing experience. The true story it tells is really engrossing, as well as emotionally devastating, to the point where you intensely root for the lead to have a better life. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say that a story about getting out of a war-torn Afghanistan felt very timely in light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Overall, Flea is a must-see. I had a gut feeling Turning Red was going to be my favourite animated film of the year, and at the start of 2023, it still is. Somehow it expertly combines a clever and thought-provoking allegory of puberty with rich fantastical world-building and a righteous sense of humour that resulted in many laugh-out-loud moments. But what I loved most about this film was its characters' relationships. Not only do we get one of the purest friendships ever put to film, we also get an authentic portrayal of the everyday struggle Asian American children go through. Overall, Turning Red is a must-see. If you love your animated films snappy and razor sharp, look no further than The Bad Guys, a heist movie that frequently flip-flops the meanings of good and bad. Right off the bat, this film is stunningly animated with a comic book art style that leaps off the screen. But the real best thing about this film are the characters, who have very tight chemistry with each other, as well as some compelling arcs that display some engaging counter-arguments. Overall, The Bad Guys is a must-see. Bubble offers a rich and beautiful world with sports that feels right at home in a video game like Splatoon or Ninjala, but I will admit that the characters aren't that complex, but I will say that they display colourful personalities that make them endearing. Plus, despite coming off as a manic pixie dream girl, Ruto manages to be a very adorable lead with a rich personality with very little dialogue. Overall, Bubble is probably second best. Let me just say this right now, Mayhem in the Multiverse is a very misleading title. This is actually a DC superhero girls movie, which serves as a fantastic continuation of the TV series, which expands the world and increases the stakes in a very compelling manner. As for Teen Titans Go, it only has 1 or 2 scenes that contribute to the story, and they spend most of the movie watching the movie and often interrupt it with cynical remarks. As someone who hates Teen Titans Go, I found these moments to be the worst parts of the film, and seeing them do an unfunny Statler and Waldorf routine was just agony, because I wanted to see what the superhero girls were up to. Overall, if you're a fan of DC superhero girls, Mayhem in the Multiverse is easily a must-see. The mere instant this film came out, I made sure I went to the first screening of the first day, and I pretty much succeeded on both fronts. I must be a very devoted fan of Bob's Burgers. Anyway, this spin-off of the hit TV series maintains the usual witty humour and heartwarming character dynamics, whilst also raising the stakes so much the plot got very intense multiple times. In fact, the only thing about this movie that disappointed me was that it marked itself as a musical, yet it only had 4 delightful show tunes, and it just made me wish there were a few more of them. Overall, the Bob's Burgers movie is definitely a must-watch for long-time fans. I'm probably going to piss off a lot of hardcore Toy Story purists for saying this, but I enjoyed Lightyear quite a lot. For starters, Chris Evans did a fantastic job at replicating Buzz Lightyear's mannerisms, whilst making him a complex and heavily flawed protagonist who needed to learn a hard lesson that's worth listening for the audience watching. Outside of that, we also get more characters for joy, some genuinely thrilling action scenes, and some big belly laughs, mostly from the adorable robot therapy cat, Socks. But I will admit that Buzz reluctantly teaming up with the Junior Zap Patrol felt like an overused cliche, and I still struggle to decide on whether a certain controversial plot twist makes sense. Overall, I'd say Lightyear is the best of the second best. In my opinion, the Sea Beast is the hidden gem of the year. On the surface, it may be the usual fun swashbuckling adventure, but under the surface, it challenges the idea of good and evil whilst avoiding any chances to keep the conflict one-sided. I'm not kidding, none of the monsters or hunters felt like stock heroes or one-dimensional villains. Not to mention, the animation is gorgeously atmospheric, to the point where it sucks you into the rich world it created. Overall, the Sea Beast is easily a must-see. I'll admit, the Ran-Thanagarian War is one of the least interesting stories in the DC comic books history, and the adaptation of a very controversial development will probably irk people, but the origin story of Jon Stewart is compelling, and I did love the fact that all the other heroes eased Jon into the role of a lantern, so I'd say there's more good things than bad things. Overall, I'll probably place Green Lantern, Beware My Power among the second best. DC's League of Super Pets is the textbook definition of mind-numbingly average. The action scenes are lacking in tension, the humour and casting is hit and miss, and whilst the animation is good, it's unremarkable. But its storytelling is pretty coherent, and it does offer some nice wholesome scenes, so the viewing experience was worth it. In fact, the most impressive thing about this movie for young children is that it showcases a much better understanding of Superman than the movies by the guy who claims his movies are for grown-ups. Overall, DC's League of Super Pets is definitely average. Being the debut feature for a new animation studio is a very daunting burden, but Skydance Animation gave us a pretty solid first movie with luck. Right off the bat, the film has a very endearing main character in the form of Sam, who keeps a kind-hearted personality despite a heavy amount of Murphy's Law, which made it a little difficult to laugh at some genius set pieces sometimes. Admittedly, the portion of the film that takes place in the Land of Luck isn't as compelling as the first half of the Human World, mainly because the Luck Factory is not as interesting as the movie wants you to believe, but it does introduce more likeable characters along the way, and a message about the importance of bad luck is much needed. However, I think the marketing team made a huge mistake by alluding to the involvement of producer John Lasseter in the posters and trailers. I don't care if they didn't use his name. I don't think the general public can ever see him in a positive light after 2017. Overall, I'd say this probably qualifies as plain good. The Luck is worth at least one viewing. To tell you the truth, I'm not the biggest fan of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's beautifully animated with breathtaking action scenes and effective dramatic moments, but the humour feels a little too obnoxious for my tastes. Around the first act, this movie doesn't change my mind, especially since Leonardo is unbearably annoying in this portion. But once the Krang show up, the stakes are raised so high that the rest of the film becomes an incredible thrill ride that gets more and more intense and compelling. Although it's a must-see for longtime fans, I'm probably going to rank Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie as second best. If there was one anime movie released exclusively on Netflix that you have to watch, it's easily Drifting Home. This has got to be one of the most melodramatic movies released this year. There's a ton of bickering between the characters, and it can test your patience, but it all pays off thanks to some high-stakes intensity that got a lot of gasps and squirms, as well as emotional drama that built up a lot of mystery and got genuine tears out of me. Overall, Drifting Home is a hands-down must-watch. At first, I wasn't sure if this one counted as a movie since Netflix branded it as a special, but since there's no evidence of a TV series following up just yet, I thought I'd include it anyway because Intergalactic is fantastic. Intergalactic manages to tell a very engrossing love story that just oozes black culture by celebrating each character's artistic talents and keeping the atmosphere uber cool thanks to stellar performances from the cast and an amazing soundtrack from Kid Cudi. Not to mention, the animation is very vibrant and eye-popping, making it look like graffiti art came to life. Overall, Intergalactic is an instant must-watch for anyone with access to Netflix. I was expecting to like this animated pairing of Superman and Batman's sons, but I did not expect to love it so much. This movie does a really good job of making Jonathan Kent a likeable and rootable protagonist, and whilst Damian Wayne comes off as an asshole at first, the film wastes no time in giving him an arc that could make him a better hero in the near future. Also, for a villain who rarely gets the spotlight in films, this has got to be one of Starro the Conqueror's most menacing portrayals to date, and the fact that he can easily take over the bodies of everyone on Earth, including Earth's heroes, made me uncertain as to how the day was going to be saved. However, the only thing that lets this film down for me is that the animation is very average. Don't get me wrong, there's personality in every frame and the cel-shaded look is beautiful, but the characters' movements felt a little rough at times. Aside from that, I'd say Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons is a must-see. I'm probably a little biased since I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan, but this latest mystery for Scoob and the gang was a lot of fun. Somehow it turns one wild retcon into a genius premise full of fan service that kept escalating, and to make things better, I didn't figure out who the culprit was. If anything, I kinda wish this was released in time for Scooby's next milestone anniversary. As an added bonus, the character interactions are consistently funny, the animation is really bouncy, and seeing Velma get flustered over a girl is one of the best things to ever happen all year. Overall, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo is a must-see addition to the franchise that I highly recommend to longtime fans. Stop-motion pioneer Henry Selick returns to treat us with a deliciously spooky farce that is oozing with visual imagination brought to life by surreal animation techniques that push limits of stop-motion. The plot is also very intriguing, as it doesn't tell us everything its rich world has to offer, leaving viewers curious as to what could happen next, all whilst making the atmosphere cold and genuinely creepy. The film also offers plenty of laughs, and even though the jokes don't always land, there were a few genuine chuckles to be had, especially from the dynamic chemistry between Key and Peele. Overall, I'd say Wendell and Wild is a must-see for horror hounds and stop-motion fans. Once again, the mega-talented Cartoon Saloon has delivered an immersive and emotional animated fantasy full of charming characters, high-stakes tension, and complex arcs. I especially loved the fact that we had a heavily flawed protagonist with understandable reasons as to why he's flawed, and an antagonist who prioritizes in keeping an island afloat by any means necessary. And then there's the dragon, who manages to be so lovable and endearing the mere minutes he's on screen. Overall, I'd say My Father's Dragon is a must-see for devoted fans of Cartoon Saloon. If you love adventure stories like the ones written by Jules Verne and Disney movies like Atlantis, The Lost Empire and Treasure Planet, chances are you'll love Strange World. The movie offers a lot of imaginative and surreal world building that makes you feel like you're exploring alongside the Clades and their dysfunctional interactions was very compelling, as well as offering some humble moments to balance out the tension. Overall, Strange World is an easy must-see for those who are thirsty for a good old-fashioned adventure. I'll admit, I wasn't considering watching this latest musical adaptation of the immortal Charles Dickens classic, which is actually a remake of the 1970 musical adaptation, but curiosity got the best of me, and it actually paid off because this film is actually pretty good. True, this film ticks all the boxes and what is essential to the story, but it offers a lot of interesting ideas that made me wonder why no other adaptation used them, and as a result, we get some eye-catching visual touches and powerful emotional moments. Not to mention, the budget is spent wisely on the musical numbers, and because of this, we get some lavish showstoppers that often swept me off my feet. But the film suffers one major weakness, and that is its snarky sense of humour, which doesn't get any chuckles out of me, and it gets more annoying the further the story progresses. Overall, Scrooge: A Christmas Carol may not please everyone, but I'd say it's the second best. Not bad for a remake of the goofiest film adaptation. I don't know if it's because I'm a huge fan of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, but I actually liked the Disney Plus animated movie released in 2021 despite its rushed pacing, unremarkable writing, and ugly animation, and this sequel is no different. Granted, the runtime is slightly longer, but I was still surprised by the fact that it starts with Roderick's Wild Party, and it introduces a new dynamic between Greg and Roderick, where Greg actually wants to get along with his metalhead brother, which actually results in some genuinely effective emotional moments. Overall, I'd say Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roderick Rules is playing good, even though I know this won't please everybody. 2022 proved to be the year of Pinocchio, thanks to an animated DVD movie starring Pauly Shore and a live-action Disney remake, but the very best offering was saved for last. Guillermo del Toro's take on The Little Wooden Boy is an unconventional take on the story, but it is emotionally gripping and thematically complex, all of which is told in a visually breathtaking stop-motion format that makes the rich fairy tale world highly immersive. If that weren't enough, this film is also a musical, and despite the overall dark tone, the songs are an old-fashioned delight and often brought a smile to my face. Overall, this film is a guaranteed must-watch regardless of whether you're familiar with Pinocchio or Guillermo del Toro. And that is pretty much all of the animated films released in 2022 that I saw. Let me know what you think of all of them in the comments below, and thanks for watching!